today's deep dive. We are really thrilled you're here with us.
Absolutely.
Today, we are immersing ourselves in this highly specific, super fascinating piece of source material.
Yeah, it's a dense one.
It really is. It's an 82-page manual, or like a blueprint, really, titled Mastering the Art of Making Things Happen.
Right, by Nimrod Laureano.
Exactly. But don't worry, we aren't trying to cover the entire book today.
Oh, no, that would take hours.
Right, we were just zooming in on a single section, page 10. It's this chapter dedicated to a process called the internal excavation.
Which is such a great phrase.
It is. And we're being guided through this text by two, conceptual figures the author uses to break down the ideas. They're known as Helios and the mad philosopher.
Yeah, and the mission for our deep dive today is to answer a question that, plagues almost everyone at some point.
Which is?
Why do so many of our earnest attempts at self-improvement or achieving our goals just flat out fail?
Oh, yeah. That's a million-dollar question.
Right, because we live in an era where people crave quick fixes. They want what the mad philosopher calls the cosmic decrees of success.
Like, just put it out into the universe and it'll happen.
Exactly.
But
the general advice is often just to, think positive thoughts, make a vision board, and wait for everything to magically fall into place.
Right.
But relying solely on surface-level positivity avoids the actual dirty work required to make things happen.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the core problem identified on page 10 is something that fundamentally shifts how we view success.
It really does.
The text argues that even the most highly driven, successful individuals in the world, people who seem to have it all together, have to constantly audit what the manual calls their energy leaks.
Yeah, energy leaks.
It's not like a mountain you climb once and you're done. It's an ongoing internal audit.
Yeah, to understand why an internal excavation is necessary, we have to grasp why positive thinking, as a standalone strategy, is mechanically incomplete.
Okay, break that down for us.
So the manual provides a deeply grounded metaphor for this. Helios introduces the image of a sunflower seed.
The sunflower seed, okay.
Yeah, imagine you have a sunflower seed in your hand. This seed represents your most ambitious goal, your desires, your untapped potential.
I'm picturing it.
Now imagine that seed is planted beneath a thick layer of incredibly hard, compacted soil.
Like totally packed down.
Right. We are talking about dirt that has been baked by the sun into something resembling concrete.
Well, if the soil is that hard, it almost doesn't matter what's happening above ground.
Exactly.
You could pour all the literal sunshine and water onto that dirt you want. And in this metaphor, that's all the positive thinking, the daily affirmations, the motivational quotes.
Yep, all of it.
But if the ground is impenetrable, the elements the seed needs to grow literally cannot reach it. The seed stays entirely dormant.
Yeah, and the compacted soil represents our subconscious limiting beliefs.
Wow, okay.
The text defines these limiting beliefs as invisible walls that actively obstruct the flow of positive energy.
Invisible walls.
Right. And the mad philosopher expands on this by using a plumbing metaphor, which is really helpful.
Oh, I love a good plumbing metaphor.
Right. You could theoretically spend a fortune installing the most state-of-the-art plumbing system in your house.
Gold pipes, the works.
Exactly. But if the source of that plumbing is built behind a wall of solid rock, it makes zero difference how pristine the pipes are.
No water is getting to the faucet.
None at all. Your positive energy is hitting a structural blockade.
I love looking at it as a structural issue rather than a moral failing.
Yes, that's a key distinction.
To bring it into, a modern context, it's like trying to install the absolute latest, greatest software update onto a computer that has a totally corrupted hard drive.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right, because it does not matter how incredible the new features of that software are. It doesn't matter how much it promises to optimize your workflow.
Yep.
If the foundational operating system is riddled with malware, the new software is going to crash every single time.
Exactly. The new software represents your conscious effort. Your new business strategy, your new diet plan, your renewed optimism.
Right.
And the corrupted hard drive is the network of limiting beliefs operating beneath your conscious awareness, dictating your actual behavior.
But I do want to push back on this just a little bit because it sounds incredibly absolute.
Sure, go ahead.
Is this truly a universal problem? We all know people who just seem to effortlessly succeed.
Yeah, people make it look easy.
Right, people whose hard drives appear perfectly defragmented from birth. Is the text arguing that absolutely everyone has this compacted soil?
Well, according to the framework established in the manual, yes, it is a universal human condition.
Wait, everyone?
Everyone. The text explicitly states that these limiting beliefs are universal energy leaks.
Interesting.
Regardless of external success or the appearance of ease, everyone develops these invisible walls as a byproduct of navigating life, childhood, and societal conditioning.
Yeah, so it's just part of growing up.
Exactly. Therefore, everyone must continuously audit their internal landscape. If you are experiencing a blockage in making a specific thing happen, the compacted soil is present.
Wow. Okay, so for you listening right now, take a second and visualize your current biggest goal.
Just picture it.
Yeah. Whatever that thing is that you've been striving for but can't quite seem to reach, picture it as that sunflower seed.
Good visualization.
Then ask yourself honestly, what kind of soil is your seed sitting in right now? Is it loose, fertile, and ready for growth? Or is it trapped under a layer of concrete?
And visualizing the soil naturally leads us to the next vital phase of the text process.
Diagnosing it.
Right, but before you can dig, you have to diagnose the ground.
Because you can't see it.
Exactly. Invisible walls are, by their very nature, invisible to the conscious mind. So how do you know if you are dealing with compacted ground?
That's the tricky part, right? Because we rarely walk around explicitly thinking, hey, I have a limiting belief today.
Right, nobody says that.
It usually masks itself as something else.
Well, the man philosopher provides what they call the telltale signs of hardened soil.
The red flags.
Yes. These are the behavioral red flags indicating an energy leak that requires immediate excavation. And the first major red flag is the pervasive presence of self-doubt.
Oh, the whispers.
Yes, the whispers.
That inner monologue that chimes in right when you are about to, hit publish on a project or ask for a promotion and it says, who do you think you are?
Or this is too big for someone like you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the manual doesn't treat that self-doubt as a fleeting bad mood or a minor annoyance.
No.
No, it uses highly analytical, almost clinical language. It categorizes these whispers as a structural crack in your foundation.
The structural crack.
They actually use the term forensic. In forensic terms, chronic self-doubt is evidence of a deeper foundational compromise.
That forensic angle reframes the entire experience.
It really changes things, doesn't it?
It does. When you feel self-doubt, you aren't just having a bad day. You are investigating a crime scene where your own potential is being siphoned off.
That's exactly it.
You are looking for the point of entry where the energy is leaking out. It takes the emotion out of it and replaces it with curiosity.
And that objective curiosity becomes even more critical when we examine the second telltale sign of hardened soil.
Which is?
Procrastination.
Oh, boy. And now we are stepping on some toes.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Because procrastination is universally experienced, but usually the narrative around it is totally steeped in guilt.
Oh, absolutely.
We label ourselves as lazy, we say we lack discipline, or, we just need to hustle harder.
What's fascinating here is how the text completely dismantles that traditional guilt-based view.
Okay, how so?
Page 10 argues that procrastination has absolutely nothing to do with laziness.
Wait, really? Nothing?
Nothing. It posits that the excuses we make, like, I don't have enough time right now, or I need to do more research, or I'll start when the conditions are perfect.
I have said all of those.
We all have. But it says these are merely sophisticated, logical rationalizations constructed by the conscious mind.
So they're just cover stories.
Exactly. They exist solely to mask the underlying limiting belief. Procrastination is an avoidance mechanism.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because thinking about procrastination not as a character flaw, but as a fear-based avoidance tactic changes everything.
It's a huge relief, honestly.
Yeah, it is. If you are listening to this and you've been beating yourself up for putting off your goals, this text is offering a profound shift.
It's a total paradigm shift.
You aren't lazy. Your subconscious mind is just terrified of the pressure of expanding.
Right. Consider the physics of growth. For a literal seed to sprout, it has to violently break out of its own shell and push through the heavy dirt above it.
It takes a lot of force.
Exactly. For a human being to achieve a massive goal, you have to shed your current identity.
Wow.
You have to take on unfamiliar responsibilities, face public scrutiny, and step into the unknown. That creates immense psychological pressure.
It's the pressure of becoming someone you aren't yet.
Precisely the point. If your subconscious limiting beliefs are telling you that you are fundamentally unworthy or incapable of handling that pressure.
That structural crack we talked about.
Right. Your mind will do whatever it takes to protect you. And the most efficient way to protect you from the terrifying pressure of growth is to simply convince you to delay starting.
So your brain is trying to keep you safe by keeping you small.
Yes.
It builds an invisible wall to keep you securely inside your comfort zone, and it disguises that wall as a busy schedule or a need for more preparation.
Yeah, so if you find yourself chronically delaying the things that matter most to you, downloading another time management app won't fix the problem.
Because the soil is still concrete.
Exactly. The soil is compacted. You have to start digging.
Which brings us to a critical transition.
Yes. The tools.
Right. We understand the metaphor of the soil. We know how to spot the structural cracks like self-doubt and procrastination.
But recognizing you have a problem doesn't fix the plumbing.
Exactly. If our brains are actively lying to us to protect us from growth, how do we bypass those defenses? How do we actually execute the internal excavation?
Well, page 10 outlines 3 specific interconnected tools for clearing the hardened soil:
Okay, what are they?
journaling, meditation, and shadow work.
Okay.
However, it's not simply about doing these activities. It is entirely about how you do them.
The approach matters.
Tremendously.
Huh.
The core mechanism behind all 3 tools relies on a process the text refers to as subconscious reprogramming.
Subconscious reprogramming. I mean, that sounds intense.
It sounds like sci-fi.
Yeah. How does sitting down with a notebook actually rewrite the operating system we talked about earlier?
It comes down to a single non-negotiable rule established by Helios. When using these tools, you must observe your thoughts strictly without judgment.
Without judgment.
Yes. To understand why this works, we have to look at the mechanics of the mind. When you judge a thought, when you feel guilty for procrastinating or angry at yourself for feeling self-doubt,
Which is what we all normally do.
right, you trigger an emotional defense mechanism.
Yeah.
You are essentially adding another layer of compacted dirt over the seed, reinforcing the invisible wall.
Oh, wow.
Observation without judgment bypasses those defenses.
I want to make sure we make that really practical for the listener. Let's go back to the plumbing analogy.
Sure.
Imagine you walk into your bathroom and a pipe has burst.
Yeah.
Water is spraying everywhere. The floor is flooding. It's a total disaster.
A nightmare.
Right. If you stand in the middle of the room and just yell at the water like, "Why are you doing this? You are a terrible pipe. I am an idiot for buying this house."
Which doesn't help at all.
Exactly. You are judging the leak. And while you are expending all that energy judging it, the room is still flooding.
Because judgment wastes time.
Judgment wastes time. Observation means walking in, seeing the water, tracing it back to the specific crack in the pipe, and calmly grabbing a wrench.
That perfectly illustrates the concept. When you apply that to journaling, for instance, you aren't just writing a daily recap of events.
Right, do your diary stuff.
No, you are tracking the leak. A 5-minute excavation journaling session might look like writing down, "I felt a massive wave of fear when I thought about launching my business today."
And you just stop there.
You don't write, "I'm a coward for feeling fear." You just document the structural crack. You observe it.
And I imagine meditation functions similarly in this blueprint. It's not about forcing your mind to be perfectly blank, which is what usually frustrates people about meditation anyway.
Yeah, that's a huge misconception. The manual frames meditation as the act of sitting quietly with the explicit intention of watching the mud settle.
Watching the mud settle.
When you stop moving, the subconscious beliefs naturally float to the surface. Your job is to simply watch them appear.
Just watch.
Right. You note, there's the thought telling me I'm not smart enough. How interesting.
How interesting. Not how terrible.
Exactly. By acknowledging the thought without emotionally attaching to it, you strip it of its power. You are observing the malware without letting it run the program.
That requires a lot of patience, but it makes the final tool on the list, shadow work, seem much more approachable.
Shadow work is a big concept.
It's a heavy term, yeah. What does the text actually mean by it in the context of this excavation?
If we connect this to the bigger picture of the manual, shadow work is the ultimate act of excavation.
The deepest dig.
Yes. It means deliberately looking at the hidden, darker, or repressed parts of yourself.
Uh-huh.
These are the parts that harbor the energy leaks, the parts of you that are genuinely terrified, the parts that feel deeply unworthy, the parts you usually try to suppress with forced positivity.
It's the messy stuff we want to hide behind a vision board.
Exactly.
But how do you actually do shadow work in your living room on a Tuesday night? It sounds so abstract.
The text provides a very grounded approach, actually. It starts with a dialogue.
A dialogue with yourself.
Yes. You
Yeah.
sit down and mentally isolate the part of yourself that is generating the self-doubt. You don't attack it.
Right, without judgment.
Exactly. The goal of shadow work is never to violently destroy the darker parts of yourself. It is about integration.
Okay, so what does that look like?
You might literally ask yourself, or write in your journal, why is this part of me so afraid of this new opportunity? And you wait for the honest, ugly answer to bubble up.
And the answer might be something raw, like, because if I try and fail, it proves I was never special to begin with.
Exactly. Once you observe that raw truth without judging it, the subconscious reprogramming begins.
The rewiring.
Yes. Those shadow parts have been acting like rogue agents in your mind, secretly sabotaging your plumbing.
Siphoning the water.
Right. They are hoarding your mental energy to maintain the invisible walls. By acknowledging them, bringing them into the light, and integrating them into your whole self, you reclaim the energy that was leaking out.
Wow.
As Helios states, you dig up the old pipes to make room for the new ones.
So instead of going to war with your own brain, you are essentially negotiating a peace treaty with your fears.
That's a beautiful way to say it.
You are taking the energy your mind was using to hold you back, and you are redirecting it toward the goal.
You have a profound paradigm shift. You are fundamentally rewiring the system.
Yeah.
Once the hard soil is broken up and the old pipes are removed, then and only then will the positive energy and the tactical strategies you apply actually have a clear path to reach the seed.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now?
Yeah, let's bring it back to them.
It means that if you feel hopelessly stuck, if you feel like you are pouring endless effort into your goals but nothing is sprouting, you need to extend some grace to yourself.
Absolutely.
The problem is not that you lack inherent potential. The problem is not that your vision is flawed or that your seed is defective.
Not at all.
It simply means your soil might be a little too hard right now and you've been using the wrong tools.
It requires an uncomfortable level of honesty to look at your own foundational cracks. But the overarching message of page 10 is empowering.
It really is.
The dirt of your own mind is the only place where true, lasting growth can be engineered.
If you want to finally blossom into that grand vision, that mansion on the hill that Nimrod Loriano's blueprint promises is possible, you have to be willing to do the heavy lifting of the internal excavation.
It is. What happens when those walls finally come down? Could that massive, reclaimed reserve of mental energy be the exact fuel you will use to finally build that mansion on the hill?
You aren't just patching a leak, you are capturing a massive reservoir of lost power.
Exactly.
The next time you feel the urge to just paint over a structural crack with a shiny new positive affirmation, pause and ask yourself, are you ready to get your hands dirty and actually fix the foundation? Until next time, keep digging.